The next thing I wanted to come to is perhaps a turning point in your career.
David Cronenberg was looking for somebody to work with as a cinematographer. He told me he had a list of 5 people, and I was lucky enough to be on that list and met him, and something sparked between us and has been sparking ever since.
David Cronenberg, up until that time, he was a horror film director.
He was, in my mind, a horror film director, and I hadn't seen a single one of his films because I don't like horror films. I feel ashamed today when I say that. I didn't know what he was like as a director at all, but on meeting him, I liked him as a person. All I had in front of me was a script which told me that the material was very likely to make a really interesting and strong movie.
At the same time, it marked his transition from horror film to avant-garde film.
Yes, I agree.
You did 11 films. With David Cronenberg, and that really is an essential part of your...
Immediately I felt on the first film, Dead Ringers, my first film with David, that it made sense of everything I'd learned before. My work, or the work of any cinematographer, doesn't really make sense unless the whole is good and challenging and satisfying. I don't feel that I can do beautiful shots or meaningful shots in a mediocre film. I can try, but I won't be stimulated to do my best work, and the work really won't have an interesting context, so it won't be very meaningful.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than pretty pictures in an empty film.
That's it, yeah. You say it well.
Yeah. This is everybody's worst nightmare, I think, or at least everybody's worst hospital nightmare. Yeah, it's quite scary, quite creepy.
There have been several occasions on these films when I've had to close my eyes or hand the camera over to David. My problem, if it is a problem, is that when I look through the camera, I have to believe that what I'm seeing in the viewfinder is true and really happening. If I see some falseness in a performance, if I have a good relationship with the director, I will go and speak with him or her and say that it doesn't feel true to me. And similarly, if I see something terrible happening, somebody being hurt very seriously or killed, I can't watch because I believe it is true unless it's very badly done. So there have been occasions when I've handed the camera over to David on a locked shot because I wouldn't trust him to operate the camera.
And he's okay with that, huh? Naked Lunch, another strange film. It was an adaptation of a novel by William Burroughs and has allusions to, I guess, junkies and their odd hallucinations, amongst other things.
It's also a film about creativity. The main character is a writer.
That is something interesting about David Cronenberg. He really reinvents some writers. He takes their material, and here he really invented new things that weren't in the original novel. This is a wonderful set photograph.
It's something I did, yeah.
Photograph that you took on the set. Here the scene takes place in a police station. Peter Weller is being interrogated by 2 cops.
When we were preparing the film, whilst I was still in Europe, I phoned David one day and I said, do you think the design of the set, because this is a studio set, should be in the expressionist style, because it's such a strange novel and it has a very dreamlike feel to it? And he said, absolutely not. What will happen in the film is strange enough. I want it to be rooted in reality as far as the environment is concerned. But I felt free after that to light it in an expressionistic way. At least I had that in mind.
I really like the saturated colors here that you did. And of course, yes, we have the noir motif of the Venetian blinds, and it's wonderfully moody. David Cronenberg explained that his decision to have this talking insect is that he wanted to have a quote-unquote talking asshole, and that was the only way you could get it past the censors.
That's right. And I thought, well, I've probably filmed some assholes in my time, but never a talking one.
The technology here is kind of like the Muppets, from what I understand.
Yes, it's animated in a simple way.
Weird is the only word that comes to mind.
If you haven't seen the film, you should see it. It's a terrific movie.
Yeah, it's ectoplasm. I guess we've seen this scene enough that we laugh at it, but I don't think everybody has the same reaction on the first viewing. I love the ambiance of this hallway. It's really nice. It feels subdued and colorful. To ask you about your way of working with David.
I think a very simple way, not unique to us, but he rehearses once in the set, and I'm with him when he rehearses. And whilst I'm watching the scene, it gives me some ideas of of how I can photograph the scene. And after the rehearsal, we discuss where we'll put the camera and how many different cuts we'll make for the scene.
Here we see you in action with a viewfinder. He's describing, I guess, the shot he wants, and you're checking the focal length.
He might be telling me another story.
Yeah. In terms of the lighting, he gives you pretty much carte blanche, from what I understand.
Yes, he never tells me how to light the set. That's something I have to discover for myself.
You said earlier how you think the greatest danger, the greatest for creativity, is to repeat.
Is repetition, yes. Yeah. The formula. Of course, as we're working, we use tricks that we have used before, but I try to walk onto a set pretending to myself that I've never done the job before. That gives me some quality of fear, but I hope that it also means that I try to find an original solution to each scene.
On most sets, you will actually walk on without any preconceived notion at all, or will you?
I have to have sufficient equipment for the scene,
yes,
and
course,
I often have to have made certain preparations which give me 2 or 3 alternative ways of lighting the scene. I can't waste the production's time. I have the same time that every other director of photography has.
Right, but you're still trying to come in naked, shall I say?
I try to, yes.
Yeah, not have any preconceived notion at all. That's a dangerous approach, right? I mean, sometimes you can try something and it doesn't work. What happens then?
Then I have to start again. I hope not to have to do that very often, but it might happen once or twice on a movie, but I catch up the time that I will have lost.
And of course, that's only possible with somebody who trusts you, like David.
Yes. Of course, I'm relying on my experience and pretending I haven't got any at the same time.
Wonderful paradox.